Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the STEM Lockdown Digital School. This is grade 11 Life Sciences. I am your presenter, Unkarabete Setwa, and you guys can get hold of me on Twitter at Unkarabete_S. Okay, so today we're just gonna continue, or firstly, we're going to recap what we dealt with yesterday and then continue from where we left off. So guys, just also quickly have your homework that you were supposed to do yesterday, have it with you so that when we mark, then you guys can give me the answers, right? Remember, you can also use the Zoom group chat to post your questions or any queries that you have. And also you can use the group chat to send through your answers, or alternatively, you can raise your hand and then I'll unmute your mic. Okay. Okay, so these are the textbooks that we will be utilizing in this lesson. So some of the figures that you will find in the slides, I got them on these textbooks, just as I have said yesterday, that you guys can get hold of these textbooks and study guides on Snaplify, right? And they are free, guys. So please make use of this opportunity of getting hold of some of these study guides. Okay, right, let's do a quick recap. So we looked at inhalation, all right? And remember, guys, we said that in inhalation, the diaphragm contracts and becomes flattened, right? And we said that the volume of the thoracic cavity increases and pressure decreases. We said that the external intercostal muscles contract and the rib cage is lifted. And we also mentioned that the atmospheric pressure is greater than the pressure which is in the lungs, causing the air to be drawn into our lungs, right? And we also looked at this figure here. Remember, I also mentioned, guys, that the movement of the intercostal muscles contracting, it is very important to note that the ribs move upwards and outwards, okay, which extends the volume of the thoracic cavity. And then we also we looked at the breastbone, which moves forward when the ribcage moves outwards and upwards. So, and we said that the breastbone is also called the sternum, right? Then we looked at exhalation, and we mentioned that in exhalation, the diaphragm relaxes and becomes arched, okay? And then we said that the external intercostal muscles relax and the rib cage is lowered, and then the thoracic cavity decreases in volume and pressure increases. And then we also said that air in the lungs is rich in carbon dioxide and is forced out of the lungs. Remember, that is also because of the increased pressure that we have in the lungs, right? Okay, so we looked at both of these pictures here, these diagrams, and let us just quickly focus on the one titled B. Here we have the air going out of the trachea, right, from the lungs, and then the breastbone, it moves inwards and the ribcage moves inwards and downwards. And then again, the diaphragm muscle relaxes and becomes a dome-shaped or arc-shaped, right? That is very important to note. So guys, from yesterday's lesson, please know all those 5 characteristics of inhalation and the 5 characteristics that we looked at of exhalation, right? And if you guys have any questions, please write them in the group chat, or you can raise your hand and ask. Okay. Okay, and then we did a practical activity of constructing a model to show how the human breathing system works. So guys, can I get an indication who attempted doing this model, this breathing model? Who attempted in making this breathing model at home? Anyone? Okay, no problem. Oh, we have someone who did the model, right? Could you please share a picture of your model in the group chat now for everyone to see? Okay, just share the picture of your model in the group chat for everyone to see. Okay. Cool. So remember we said that the model that we were supposed to do in practical 3 was supposed to look something like this. Okay. So we have one balloon, and yeah, and this one has 2 balloons, but this was not according to the instructions that we read yesterday. Okay. Right, and then we were busy with activity 4. Okay, with activity 4, I think we answered both these 3 blocks here. We answered this part, we answered that part, and we were at this question here, which reads, what happens to the balloon when the plastic sheet is pushed upwards? Right, and I'm going to need you guys to give me the answers. Please do utilize the group chat, or you can raise your hand to say the answer, right? What happens to the balloon when the plastic sheet is pushed upward? Please do send your answers, guys. I only have one answer in. Please send through your answers. I'll give you guys about 30 seconds. All right, so the answer that I got is that it relaxes, which is correct because the balloon would deflate. Okay, now let us look at question 2, which reads, when the plastic sheet is pulled down, right? This is inhalation. What happens to each of the following? A, the volume of the plastic bottle, B, the pressure in the plastic bottle, and C, the balloon. So can I get the answers for question 2A, B, and C? So during inhalation, what would happen to the volume? What happens to the pressure? And what would happen to the balloon? So remember we said that the balloon represents the lung. And then we said that the plastic bottle would represent the walls of our thoracic cavity. So what would happen to the volume of the thoracic cavity? What would happen to the pressure of the thoracic cavity? And what would happen to the lung? So you guys have a minute to send through your answers. Send through your answers, guys. For question 2 answers. Hypo guys, you are quiet. You are quiet. I don't see any answers. I don't see anyone raising their hand. What's happening? Guys, did you do the homework? What am I supposed to say? Guys, did you do the homework? Hello, class. Did you do the homework?
Quero one answer.
Thank you. Now I'm getting answers. Thank you. All right. A, it increases. And then what happens to the pressure in the bottle? We just dealt with this now, guys. What happens to the pressure in the bottle? It decreases, right? And then what would happen to the balloon? Okay, I see an answer here. The thoracic cavity increases, the pressure in the lung decreases. Beautiful. Then what happens to the balloon? It inflates. Okay. Let's see the answer for question 2. Beautiful. So the volume would increase, the pressure decreases, and the balloon would fill with air or inflate. All right. Good, guys. Question 3, when the plastic sheet is pulled upwards, and this is a process of exhalation, what happens to each of the following? The pressure within the plastic bottle, the volume of the plastic bottle, and the balloon. Please send through your answers, guys, or alternatively, just raise your hand so we can unmute your mic and you can give the answer. Send through your answers, guys. What happens to the pressure within the plastic bottle? Does it increase, decrease, stay the same, maybe? Nothing happens to it. What happens to the volume? Does it increase, decrease, stay the same? I don't know. And what happens to the balloon during exhalation? I'm going to give you guys 1 more minute. Ne? Okay, so the answer that I have for A is that the pressure within the plastic bottle decreases. And then the volume in the plastic bottle would increase. And what happens to the balloon? So the thoracic cavity decreases and the pressure in the lungs increase and the balloons deflate. Okay, let's see the answer. So we have an increase, first of all, in pressure, okay? Remember we said when we exhale, right, your thoracic cavity becomes smaller, okay? So meaning that the volume would decrease, okay? And the pressure inside your thoracic cavity would increase and force the air out of your lungs, all right? So our balloons would deflate as well. So yes, that is correct. Let me see if everyone is on track. The thoracic cavity decreases. The pressure on the lungs increase, that is correct. And the balloons deflate, yes, that is correct. And then A, please mind that, A, the pressure increases, it doesn't decrease, okay? And the volume of the plastic bottle also increases, okay? The volume decreases, I'm sorry. So Bacon, you swapped your 2 answers around. Okay, just fix that. Cool. Then question 4, lastly, in what two ways does the functioning of the model differ from the real human system? In what two ways does the functioning of the model differ from the real human system? Okay, Prashani, yes, we are marking yesterday's homework. Then can you please zoom in question 4? Unfortunately, I can't zoom it in, but I can read it for you. It says, in what two ways does the functioning of the model differ from the real human system? Okay, Lisa, did you get that? In what two ways does the functioning of the model differ from the real human system? All right, cool. Okay, guys, send through your answers. In what two ways does the functioning of the model differ from the real human system? Okay, number one, it doesn't give accurate information about the part of the body you are examining. All right. Can the second reason? Remember, guys, we need to know the limitations of this particular mechanism, breathing system mechanism. Ne? We need to know the limitations it has compared to the normal human body breathing system. Remember, it was on our lesson outcomes on yesterday's lesson. Okay. So the answer that I got, which reads, it doesn't give accurate information about the part of the body you are examining, it is not completely correct, because remember we said that we are building a model for the breathing system. So obviously the breathing system is our lungs, right? Or is our thoracic cavity, our respiratory system. So that one is not completely correct, but if you elaborate on that, I think it would lead you to the correct answer. Okay, I have another answer. The lungs do not fully deflate, unlike the balloons. They don't fully deflate, unlike the balloons. Okay, cool. Yeah, can give you that one. Half a mark at least. All right, guys, let's start now. How many lungs do we have? How many lungs do we have? How many lungs do we have as humans? We have 2 lungs, right? And if we look at our model, it only has one balloon, which represents 1 lung. Okay, so that could be the first shortfall. Okay. And then when we pull this elastic band down, or we pull it up, does the thoracic cavity or the bottle, the plastic bottle, literally expand? Like, does it expand in a way that you can see and feel it? So you guys would know this if you had basically done the model, but you can't see an expansion of the thoracic cavity, right, in this model. So that is also a shortfall or a limitation that differs from the real human system. Okay, so now let us look at the answers that I have here. Is that there is only one balloon, okay, as compared to the real human system, where we have 2 lungs, all right, and then there are no bronchioles. Right, so remember, we spoke when we're looking at the structure of the respiratory system, we said we have a trachea, which branches out into 2 bronchus, right? One in the right lung and the other in the left lung. And then the bronchus gives us bronchioles, and from the bronchioles we have what? Our alveoles. So that is not present in this particular model. All right, guys. And then the thoracic cavity cannot get smaller or larger. Okay, is everyone following? Please indicate for me. Use the yes or no buttons in the participant icons, or you can type in the group chat. Okay, great, awesome. Okay, I've been asked to repeat question 4. Okay, so question 4 asked, in what 2 ways does the functioning of the model differ from the real human system? So now this model, when we were building it, we were trying to explain or demonstrate breathing that happens in the human system. So we already know that this model needs to demonstrate how breathing takes place in the real human system. All right. And now we are asked, how does this model differ from the real human system? Firstly, the real human system, we have 2 lungs. Okay. And in our model, we only have 1 lung, which is present, and it is represented by the balloon. Remember yesterday we said that the balloon represents the lung. Okay. And then the straw represents the trachea. Okay. And then we look again at the real human breathing system, where we have the trachea, and it is branched into 2 bronchus or bronchi. All right, one bronchus goes to the right lung, and the other bronchus goes to the left lung. And then the bronchus further expands into bronchioles, right? And then the bronchioles have alveoli on them, which are called air sacs. Okay, but then those things are not present in this model that we built. And that is why we say that it differs from the real human system. It has limitations. Okay. And then the other thing is that the thoracic cavity cannot get smaller or larger. When we breathe in, when we inhale, our thoracic cavity volume increases and we can feel it. Remember yesterday we did a practical where I asked you guys to actually touch your ribs and inhale in air or breathe in so that you could feel the movement of your thoracic cavity. And I also asked you guys to exhale so that you can also feel the movement again of your thoracic cavity. Okay, but then we can't see that in the model that we have built. Okay, are you good, Prashani? Just indicate for me. Okay, so while I wait for Prashani's response, we can just move on. Okay, so today, basically, what we will be looking at is exchange and transport of gases. Yesterday, we looked at the ventilation of the lungs, and today we are looking at exchange and transport of gases. All right, Prashani is good. All right, you're welcome. Okay, so here are our lesson outcomes. Firstly, explain gaseous exchange in the alveoli with the aid of a diagram. So you guys should be able to explain gaseous exchange in the alveoli with the aid of a diagram. You need to be able to discuss how oxygen and carbon dioxide are transported in the body. You also need to be able to explain internal gaseous exchange using a diagram. You also need to be able to compare the composition of inhaled and exhaled air. Okay, so let us just go back to the structure of our gas exchange system. So now let us look at the external structure of the lung, because basically what we'll be covering here is something that is happening in the lung. Okay, so now the external structure of the lung, we know that lungs are cone-shaped. The wider proportion of each lung touches the diaphragm, and that the diaphragm is a large sheet of muscle. The diaphragm separates the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity, and lungs are covered on the outer surface by a double membrane called the pleural membrane. So yeah, or the pleura. And then the pleura, it covers the outside of the lung, and it is indicated by this purple structure here, or this purple color around the pink lung on this picture. And then we have a thin film of moisture, which is found between the 2 membranes of the pleura Then the function of the fluid is to reduce friction during breathing movements. And we also said that this fluid prevents our lungs from collapsing. Okay, if you guys remember in the, I think, second lesson of gaseous exchange, right? Then the internal structure of the lung, internally, the bronchi divide and subdivide to form bronchioles. So guys, here in this picture, we have our trachea here. Okay, if you guys can follow, this is the trachea or our air pipe or windpipe, and then it divides, right? It goes into the right lung and it also goes into the left lung. And these structures are called bronchus. It's a bronchus, one singular bronchus and plural is bronchi. Okay, so there's a bronchus that goes into the right lung, and we also have a bronchus going into the left lung. And then the bronchus also extends to have bronchioles. And then the bronchioles, they have air sacs at the end. And this is called, these air sacs are called alveoli. Okay, and each lung has a large number of alveoli, right? Okay, and then we have what we call the hilum of the lung, okay, which is found on the concave surface of each lung. The blood vessels enter and leave the lung at the hilum. So this is a very important bullet to note, that blood vessels enter and leave the lung at the hilum, and that the pulmonary artery enters the lung. Very important to note that it is the pulmonary artery which enters the lung, and then the pulmonary veins leave the lung, and then the bronchi enter the lung at the hilum. So at the hilum, we have the entry of our blood vessels, and we also have the entry of our bronchi or bronchus. Okay. All right, and here is the picture or the position of the hilum in the left lung. Okay, so we're going to look at gas exchange in the alveoli, the transport of gases around the body, gas exchange in tissues, and the composition of inspired air versus the expired air. So basically, I'm just doing some data analytics. Okay, let's look at the summary of the respiratory process. So you exist in the atmosphere, right? And then you inhale the air which is present in the atmosphere. And then this inhalation takes place where? In the lungs, where we have gaseous exchange taking place, where oxygen, right, is inspired in and it goes to the blood. From the blood, this oxygen goes to the cells, right? And then from the cells, we have, in the cells, we have cellular respiration taking place. Remember, we have the use of oxygen in aerobic respiration, right? And then the cells, they release the carbon dioxide and they release it into the blood capillaries. The blood capillaries move to your lungs and they take that, they transport that carbon dioxide and we exhale it, and that carbon dioxide goes back into the atmosphere, right? Okay. So yes, this first part of gaseous exchange takes place in the alveoli. Okay, the first gaseous exchange takes place in the alveoli. Okay, now let us look at gas exchange in the alveoli. Each alveoli is made up of a single layer of flattened squamous epithelial cells. A thin layer of tissue fluid lines the inside surface, keeping it moist and preventing the cells from drying out, and that liquid is called surfactant. Okay, very important to note that this tissue fluid is called surfactant. And then the alveoli are surrounded by capillaries. This is your connective tissue around the alveoli. As you guys can see in this picture here, it is indicated there with the blue and the red colors. Okay, and these capillaries are branches of the pulmonary artery. The capillaries rejoin to form venules, and then the venules eventually join to form the pulmonary vein, and the pulmonary vein leaves the lung and carries the oxygenated blood to the heart. So what takes place in the alveoli is that we have oxygen coming in, right? And this oxygen will move into our blood capillaries. And then we also have the diffusion of carbon dioxide going out of the alveoli to your bronchioles, to your bronchus, to your trachea, and eventually out of your body, right? And this is basically the flow of blood, which is shown here, that this blood, it comes from where? From the cells, right? And it is rich in oxygen, and then the oxygen will diffuse out, okay? And after the, the carbon dioxide will diffuse out. And after the carbon dioxide diffuses out, your oxygen will come in and bind to your red blood cells, and it will move back to the body cells, right? So remember we said from the lungs, right? The artery which carries the oxygenated blood is called your pulmonary vein. So the oxygenated blood from your lungs will travel to your heart, and from your heart, it will travel to the body cells. Okay, so this is basically the flow of your oxygenated blood. Is everyone following? Is everyone following until here? All right. Cool. Okay, now let us go deeper in it. External gaseous exchange occurs by the process of diffusion. So the gas exchange that takes place in the alveoli is external gaseous exchange, all right? And then air in the lungs has a high concentration of oxygen relative to the low concentration of oxygen in the blood surrounding the alveoli. Remember, the blood surrounding the alveoli comes from your body cells, and your body cells undergo respiration. And the products of respiration is carbon dioxide. Therefore, they have a lot of carbon dioxide in them, which needs to be diffused into the alveoli. Okay. And then oxygen in the alveoli dissolves in moisture lining in the alveoli, and then diffuses from high concentration in the alveoli across the thin cell walls of the alveoli and blood capillaries into the blood. All right. Then the oxygenated blood leaves the lungs and goes to the heart, where it will be pumped to all the cells of the body. The deoxygenated blood has a high concentration of carbon dioxide relative to the alveoli. The carbon dioxide diffuses across the thin cell walls of blood capillary and the alveoli into the lungs, where it will be exhaled. Okay. I have a question, ma'am. When does this happen? When does what happen? Just please elaborate on your question. When does what happen? Are you asking of the whole process of gaseous exchange, or? Okay. So the process of gaseous exchange happens when we inhale and exhale. So when we are breathing, this is happening. All right. So remember, if we have a quiet breathing, so it also happens during quiet breathing, where carbon dioxide is carried to the alveoli and it is exhaled. And during exhalation, we also have what we call inhalation. And this is where we breathe in the air, which contains most of the oxygen, and then most of the oxygen will be carried out to our cells. So it's a continuous process that is happening. Okay, exactly. It is happening right now. Yes. Okay. Right. Okay, let's move on. No, breathing is not complicated. It's not complicated. It's just a gaseous exchange that is happening, right? Bacon, don't confuse yourself. Breathing is not complicated. Okay, how is the alveolus suited for gaseous exchange? So guys, we'll just start here at movement of air, okay? And then move in a clockwise direction, okay? So just please follow with me. So we have the movement of air in the alveoli or alveolus, right? And then we said that we have oxygen coming in and carbon dioxide going out. All right. So the alveolus wall is 1 cell thick. So basically, this is the adaptation of the alveolus for gaseous exchange. It is 1 cell thick. And then here we have blood from the pulmonary artery, which is deoxygenated going in. So deoxygenated blood always comes from the body cells, right? Deoxygenated blood always comes from the body cells. This is blood which has a less concentration of oxygen because of the carbon dioxide that happens in body cells, and it is released or diffused into the blood. Okay, then we have our deoxygenated red blood cells. Then we have the red blood cells taking up oxygen in this particular spot here. And in the alveolus, we are indicated that oxygen diffuses in. And then the capillary wall is also 1 cell thick. Then carbon dioxide from the blood plasma diffuses into the alveolus, and the carbon dioxide diffuses out and we exhale it. Okay, and then we have oxygenated red blood cells. This is the red blood cells which have a high concentration of oxygen, and this blood goes via your pulmonary vein to the heart. From the heart, it is pumped out to all your body cells. All right. Okay, so let us go through that picture basically in word form. The alveoli are lobe shaped, and this increases the surface area for gas exchange. Second adaptation, the alveoli are made up of a single layer of flattened squamous epithelial cells, and this makes it thin to allow for easy diffusion of gases. So remember when we dealt with the requirements of an efficient gaseous system, we said that our gas exchange system needs to be thin in order for easy diffusion to take place. Okay, so our alveoli have that flattened squamous epithelial cells, which makes it thin, and it meets the requirement, right, for an efficient gaseous exchange system. Okay, that point, the alveoli are surrounded by a large number of blood capillaries to transport oxygen to the tissues and carbon dioxide to the lungs. Fourth fact is that the capillaries are lined by a single layer of endothelium cells, making it very thin to allow for easy diffusion of gases during gaseous exchange. Okay, fifth reason, the capillary have a narrow diameter. This ensures that the red blood cells are able to pass in a single line, allowing for the absorption of oxygen by these cells, as you guys have seen in the previous slide. Right. Then the blood contains the pigment hemoglobin to transport both oxygen and carbon dioxide. And we will look at hemoglobin in the upcoming slides. And then red blood cells have a biconcave shape and they are disc-like. This shape increases surface area for the absorption of oxygen. Right. Question. The blood vessel that carries oxygenated blood from the lung to the heart is A, pulmonary artery, B, pulmonary vein, C, the aorta, or D, none of the above. Please send through your answers to the group chat. The blood vessel that carries oxygenated blood from the lung to the heart, is it A, pulmonary artery, B, pulmonary vein, C, aorta, or D, none of the above? Okay, I see A, B, okay. And I have another A. Right, I'll give you guys a few seconds to send through your answers. Oh, guys, you're changing. All right. Okay, 10 more seconds. Okay. So you guys are confused between A and B. All right, let's see. So the answer is B, not A. Ne? The answer is B. I can just go back to that. So the pulmonary vein, that is the blood vessel that carries oxygenated blood from the lung to the heart. Remember in the structure, guys, we said that the oxygenated blood will travel via the pulmonary vein to the heart. Guys, just note that there, it travels via the pulmonary vein. Okay. So it's not the artery. The artery would carry, the pulmonary artery would carry the deoxygenated blood to the lungs in order for the carbon dioxide to be exhaled, right? Okay. Another question, the area of the lungs through which the bronchi enters is called A, the hilum, B, biconcave area, C, pleura, or D, none of the above. Send through your answers, guys. Okay, so I have an answer which says D. I have an answer for D. I have an answer for A. And then I also see here, it says, my apologies, I have recently started and far from when I have been studying, I am done with photosynthesis and do animal nutrition. I feel confused. Okay, Lerato, just drop me an email and then we can just, I will send you the notes that we have been looking at. Okay. Okay, now let's see the answer for this particular question. And the answer is A, right? It is the hilum, right? So that is great. See, most of you guys have been following. Right now, because time is almost up, we're supposed to look at the transport of gases around the body, but we will continue with this tomorrow, right? So yeah, we will continue with this tomorrow, but guys, homework, ne? Please do take a screenshot of your screens so that you guys complete the homework and then we will mark it tomorrow. Right, please take screenshots so that we can mark the homework tomorrow. So basically the homework is just covering the part that we have dealt with in today's lesson. Ne? And it reads, the diagram below represents a section through an alveolus and a surrounding blood capillary in the human body. Study the diagram and answer the questions. Question 2.3.1, name the type of epithelial tissue numbered 1 and 2. Question 2.3.2, identify blood cell labeled 3. And then question 2.3.3, what pigment is found in the cell mentioned in question 2.3.2? Question 2.3.4, which type of blood does A enter blood capillary at A? B leaves the blood capillary at B. And question 2.3.5, supply any three structural adaptations of the alveoli which make them well suitable for gaseous exchange. Okay, so I hope everyone got that. Is everyone cool? Just please indicate for me if I should just wait a bit on the slide. Okay. Okay, so I believe everyone is okay now. All right. So guys, please do complete your homework, and then tomorrow we will mark. All right. So just another important thing, guys, today is the 20th, right? And there is a career advisory session courtesy of the University of Witwatersrand. So you guys can check out your newsletters for the link to the Zoom meeting that will take place between 3 and 4, right? So you are advised to attend. And then guys, here is my email address. So if you have any questions, you can drop me an email at onkarabete.sito@gmail.com. And remember to follow Africa Teen Geeks on all the social media platforms, and tell your friends that we do have life sciences at 1 o'clock. So guys, thank you very much for coming to class. See you guys tomorrow. Have a good day further. Bye-bye.